Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this workshop on Crowdin, an essential tool for translation and localization. My name is Nadja Ruhl. I currently serve as a localization manager at a B2B SaaS company called Chainels here in the Netherlands. I'm also one of the localization experts at Crowdin and a mentor at Women in Localization Association and the Mentoring Club. I'm glad to meet you all today, and we only have about 70 minutes left, and I will reserve last 10 minutes for your questions. So without further ado, let's dive in. So computer-assisted translation, or CAT tools for short, are essential for anyone working in translation and localization as either a project manager, PM, or a translator. And basic knowledge of CAT tools is vital to succeed in the job search in these fields. But this skill is not often taught in academic coursework. And it doesn't really matter if you're planning to apply for a corporate job or a position in a small company. If it's translation related, you will most probably see knowledge of CAT tools among other requirements, along with a degree in linguistics and some kind of portfolio. Also note that there are several categories of professionals and organizations in the translation industry that might want to avoid using CAT tools. Here are some of them. Literary translators. So translators of literature, poetry, and other creative texts often do not use CAT tools. These texts require a high degree of creativity and adaptation, making CAT tools less effective. And small translation agencies. Smaller agencies may not have access to expensive CAT tools and might rely on traditional translation methods. Specialized text translators. These translators working with texts that require very specific knowledge and skills, for example, ancient manuscripts or specialized scientific papers, etc. And games producers. Well, believe it or not, but Excel is still the king there. All right, so where do you even begin? Here's a simple step-by-step plan for you to consider. So step 1, make yourself visible and let the community know about your presence on the market. Step 2, make yourself searchable online. Step 3, start building your portfolio, even if you do not currently possess your Step 4, let people know what you can do for them. Step 5, offer your services directly to the buyers, for example, IT companies looking for support in their product localization efforts, or to the language service providers or translation agencies. Work as a freelancer or a full-time employee at the company, well, the choice is yours. This workshop will provide you with hands-on experience with the CAT tool called Crowdin, a popular tool for team-based translation and localization work. And as most CAT tools are based on the same set of principles, you will be able to transfer your knowledge of Crowdin to other tools you may encounter in the field. So we have invited you to join the Crowdin platform. This is a standard procedure at the beginning of any typical onboarding process. And additionally, you might be required to sign an NDA, non-disclosure agreement, or complete the product training. So you better understand the wider context of your task. And it really depends whether the time you spend on all these product activities will be paid or not. I will now switch to Crowdin itself. There you go. So today we will be collaborating live on a small translation project. And hopefully this will give you a clear understanding of what to expect when working with CAT tools as either a project manager or a translator. So here's the workflow that I, as an admin, had to set up before starting working at the project, at any project. There are several steps here. So first, all content comes to Crowdin, our translation management system, and the system checks its translation memory for matches. Was something like this ever translated before within the project? And if yes, then the same translation will be used again, will be suggested again. And if not, content moves forward and will be automatically translated into our target languages using the selected machine translation engine. Right now, the Crowdin Translate is selected by default, but it can also be Google Translate or any other machine translation engine of your preference. Then the next stage is rather optional, but we need it sometimes. In case for some reason the machine translation engine could not translate given strings, perhaps due to an internal error or something, then untranslated strings will be moved to human translation stage. You see it here, translation. And the stage 3 is final. Here we allow our translators to do a so-called machine translation post-editing or proofreading, as it's called here in Crowdin. And you can always edit the steps of your workflow if you're an admin or have enough rights to do that according to your company's needs and the preferences. Here, if you click Edit, and then you can add some blocks, delete blocks from here, add more languages, and so
on. We have a question from Jack. Should I have the workflow tab available?
No, because the UI I'm currently presenting is the UI of an admin of the CAT tool, and you only have. I will quickly show you. You only have rights. The role is a proofreader or translator, so you won't have this workflow tab visible for you because you didn't have enough rights to modify the workflow. So I'm just sharing my screen so you see how it looks like from the admin side, from the project manager side. The workflow basically has a start and the end and several steps on the way, and you see the untranslated content moving to the first step, then the next one, and the end stage is proofreading, the final check, and then the content gets approved and it will be delivered. Okay, and then a quick question for you. Which languages do you guys can translate to? I assume English can serve as a source language for all of you, but what are your target languages? And I will give you a minute to write it in our chat, okay? And this is usually, with this question, this is usually how the communication between the client and the PM starts. All right.
And then we had one question asking, are a lot of localization translation jobs freelance or contract?
A lot of them are freelance indeed. I would say less are in-house and much more are freelancers. Yeah.
Yeah, so we got Spanish and Portuguese.
All right, Spanish we have already, and here you go. You need to add Portuguese to the system. This is how you do it. You add it to the first step of the workflow. And are there any others?
Yeah, Swedish, Danish, Norwegian,
okay.
Italian, Korean.
Oh, that's a lot. Korean.
Ukrainian and Russian, Mandarin and Japanese,
Mandarin and then Japanese.
Yoruba, French, Arabic, and German.
All right. And then, so we added 11 more languages, and you see now they're not connected, and Crowdin flags it. That's because we need to add them all to the next step of the workflow as well. And now you see they're pre-selected already here. I don't have to type them again. I just select them all, and here as well. And here at this step called translation, then you need to assign translators, your freelancers or in-house translators to each language. Well, I will randomly assign some of you. Just, you will have access to all languages anyways. For the sake of demonstration, you see how this all happens. That takes quite some time. But you cannot really avoid this procedure because if translators are not assigned, they will not see their tasks. The boring side of PM's work. But good news is that you only do it once, and then all the translators are inside. And all right, that took a while, but it's done. And here you add all the languages. And again, you need to assign people. Okay. So you assign to each step of the workflow. Click one. Because if I don't do that, Crowdin will not allow me to save the save changes. And there you go. Now everything is in green. So we can save. Okay. So we just edited the workflow. All the translators are in now. And we move forward. And I will now assign you a translation task. The first task here in Crowdin. There you go. I will quickly show you. See, some of the languages already 100% translated. It means the files that we have here at this project. The workflow works already, and machine translation happens at the backstage. It's still working on Korean, Kurdish, and Yoruba, but all the other languages are already translated. You see there are even some issues in Spanish specifically, so you can see. All right, quickly on tasks. I will quickly show you how you create tasks here in Crowdin. So there you go. We select proofreading as that's what we want to work on today. You can add the due dates. Those steps are all optional. What you 100% need to do is to select the file that you're working on, and then the languages you would like to work on. Select all. And then again, from the list of translators that we added when we edited the workflow, we now only see selected translators that we can assign to a specific language. And assign again randomly some people to the task. Yeah, this part is extremely boring, but bear with me. We can do it. See, some languages are not available. That's because, most probably, that's because our machine translation engine does not allow us to translate into those languages. But with Google Translate or with Google Translate, it will be easier allow you to translate to all. Not all of them, but most of them. Okay. Very good. You can add a description, but that's optional, and you create a task. That's it. The translators should be automatically notified, so they see there's something assigned to them, and Crowdin will bring you to the board where you see it's a regular structure as at any project management tool. You can move your tasks to the stages. Well, right now, the tasks are all in progress, so move there. Now, if you haven't done so yet, you can open Crowdin on your own computer and start shadowing. And now we will dive a little deeper into translator's role, and I will need your attention as I'll be giving instructions, and we will move forward in sync. So we are entering the project from the workspace home screen page here in Crowdin, and note that depending on your role, again, the interface you see will be different, and admins see much more. They can change settings, modify projects, and so on. So translators and proofreaders do not see such buttons in their UI, as I said. Okay, there are blue lines to each language in Crowdin. This means that the file has been already pre-translated using the selected machine translation engine or AI. So select your target language and then click on the file inside. Well, I will take Spanish, and here's the file inside. So I click on it, and if you have Crowdin open, you can do the same. And Crowdin will bring you to the editor. All right. You can close all the pop-ups if there are any right now. So in the top left corner, you'll see target language, Spanish in my case. There it is. The name of the file you're working on at the moment, and then the workflow step. If you're entering the editor the way we just did, Crowdin will automatically bring you to the translation step. But as we already know, the translation had been completed by the machine. So what we need to do is to do our post-editing or proofreading, as it's called in Crowdin. So select the proofreading step. And there you go. Briefly about the UI here. So source strings at your left, translated strings on your right, and the whole file for your reference at the bottom. Let's see here in either Spanish or English, source language, and then AI assistant section at your right, and a panel with some extra settings that we're going to be using soon as well at the right side. So since we are here, just a couple of words about the difference between standard proofreading workflow. This is where we are at the moment, and versus AI powered. What Crowdin allows us to do, besides other things, is to use AI as a machine translation engine, and you would need to specify it in your workflow. We won't have time to do it today, but right now, what we could do here is to use AI assistant. Here you see it on the right down there in Crowdin. We can ask AI assistant to improve selected strings, selected translations, and make them shorter or rephrase, for example. We could also come up with our own prompts, but first of all, well, if you just click shorten, you will see it will give you an error and say it's insufficient balance. Well, first of all, you will have to top up your AI provider's account, the balance there. You, of course, can play with it outside of this live session. Now, there are two strings that require our attention, and one contains a typo. Maybe you can see it already. It's in the source text in English. It's number 4 if you count from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. The fourth string from the top, and it says it supports workflow cust, and then you see the typo. It's highlighted already. That happens automatically as well. And another one provides absolutely no context, so you're unable to provide any translation there actually. And if you scroll down a little bit, it's the second one from the bottom. It's DRL, whatever, random sequence of letters that they put there. So it's time to further explore Crowdin's UI, and the panel on your right side. You should be able to find a comments section there. There you go. You see it at the right, and first goes the AI assistant if you haven't found it yet. Then the string details and suggested translations. These are suggestions coming from either translation memory or machine translation. Right now, we don't have any memory at this project, so it's only machine translation suggestions here. And the next one, the next button, is the comment section. So now imagine you are a translator now, and your aim is to report these two issues to your PM. So select this string. You can do it right now with me, same time in parallel with me. So you select the string you're planning to flag to the in the editor by putting your cursor there. Just put it there, either into English or your translation to your language, Spanish in my case. And then first you tag what I did already as an example for you. You tag your PM. You can use my name in this case. Yeah.
We have someone asking, how did you get to this view?
How do you get to which view?
How
the
did you
editor?
get to the screen? Yes.
Okay. Let's quickly come back. It depends where you are right now. If you go back to the home screen, home page, or dashboard, I don't know where you are at the moment, but just wherever you are. Just click on Crowdin and select the project, select the language you want to work on. Then there will be a list of files. We only have one. You click on it and Crowdin will bring you to the editor. Okay. And since we are on the proofreading stage, see the translation step from the workflow here at the top left. You click on it, and instead of translation, you select proofreading. Okay. And you will see on the left your source strings in English and the translated strings into your selected language on the right. Okay,
Thank you. And then one last question is does localization just mean translation? I would have thought there would be a difference between those two things.
Yeah, there is difference. Translation is part of localization. It's not limited to translation only. It's much more than just translation. But the scope of today's workshop is a tool called Crowdin. So we only touch upon this small little part of localization process. Because when you need to localize your product, you will have to translate some strings, whether it's software or physical product that you need to localize when you're entering new markets. Let's say your company is planning to enter a German market and you haven't been there yet, and your product is all in English. Of course, you'll have to collaborate across teams. You'll have to localize your brand, your all the marketing materials, the visuals that you have in order to adapt for a local market, for the culture. So the translation is just a small part of it, of the whole process. But we obviously cannot cover it today in 75 minutes. But I will recommend some courses that you can take if you want to dive deeper on that at the end of the presentation.
Yeah, thank you. There are now a couple more questions in the chat. Yeah, so one of the follow-up questions for that is, what is the target entity for localization? Is it a language, a locality? And if so, how big?
Well, yeah, it's target language is local, and then it depends on your tool, what kind of locals it offers.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then the other ones are logistical questions. So to get to the, someone is saying my screen does not show Ukrainian, how to get to the Ukrainian translation?
Well, here we have Spanish, and well, I just click at the top left corner, and among all the languages, we do not have Ukrainian indeed. Now let me quickly check. Why is that? So troubleshooting part. Did we add it to the workflow? That's the first question that we need to ask ourselves. So we go to workflow and double check it there. So if it's not here, and it's not, right? Answer to your question. We add Ukrainian again here and to all the steps. Over here again. Okay, next step. And again, assigning it. All of these, so all of you can see done, and then the last one. And again, assign it, and there you go. Now it should appear in the list of all the languages, because if it's not in the workflow, there's no way you see it in the list.
Mm.
So it all goes back to the workflow. That's the initial setup that you do for any project. This is an inevitable step. Okay, now let's see. There you go. Ukrainian is there now. And the machine started translating it automatically. So it's now 52% translated. And we can enter it again. I just clicked on language. I click on the file, and Crowdin brings me to the editor. And instead of translation step, I'm interested in proofreading. So there you go. And you see the file is now partially translated to Ukrainian because, well, it takes a bit of time, but Crowdin will then translate 100%. You will see it all here. I switch between English and Ukrainian here.
Thank you so much. I think that answers the questions for now.
Awesome. Then let me come back to my Spanish and to my training number 4 and the comment section. There you go. So let's continue from there where we left. So your task right now will be to play the translator's role, or the proofreader's role, or editor's role, whatever you call it. And leave a comment, and I will see them popping up live. So you can do that by just tagging me as your project manager for now. And write your comments, and then mark it as an issue because there is a typo, and you as a translator aim to report this issue to your project manager so they are aware of it. And then you click on issue and then select the category for it. And in this case, it's mistake in the source string. And we send it. Okay, give it a try now. No rocket science, of course, but just for you to play here a little bit. And you will see what project manager sees on their side when translators indeed, yeah. And there you go. This is how it looks like on the other side. So the PM will see that there are some issues, and the translators are flagging it, and then can react accordingly. Well, what yeah. All right. So what PM will do? They will reply. Thanks for flagging, whatever. Send you response and resolve the issue. Yeah. Okay. Done here. So once you're done with this small task, well, I think it's pretty much clear. What you can do, you can go through the translated strings in your preferred language and try to correct those that you don't really like, the translations, I mean, that are probably not perfect. And do not forget to click save and approve. Here, I will quickly show you how to do that. You do your corrections. Let's say here, I want it to look like this. Well, Crowdin, of course, gonna flag it. There's something wrong. And then you save it. Yeah, it will. Yeah, it will let you know that something is not really great there. But then you will see your translation again on the right side in the translation section. And your next step will be to approve. So that's what I did. And you see your name, and that means that you suggested this translation, you approved it, and your name will be recorded. So that's for tracking purposes, of course. So we know which translator worked on which string and who has suggested which translation. All right. So there is one more string, as I said, that requires our attention, and this is the second one from the bottom. And as a translator, you probably have no idea what it means. So how can you provide any meaningful translation? That's going to be a challenge. So again, you can leave a comment at the same comment section, and then me as a project manager, or you as a project manager, if your role as a project manager in the project, then what you're going to do, if you see something like this, you click on edit strings, and you see there is a special field called context, and you say this means blah blah blah, right? And then you can also add screenshots, so your translators can actually see. Well, there are no screenshots, but at the moment. But if you need to add a screenshot to actually illustrate what it means and where it appears in the product or on the website, then you can do it here. Okay, I will go back to the editor. That's how it works in brief. So now we move on. Then, you can play a bit here in the editor outside of this live session, of course. And we will, there was something else I really wanted to highlight, and it's about effective communication, actually. Because effective communication between clients, translators, and project managers is crucial in general, in translation industry, in localization industry, and that's for several reasons. Well, quick resolution of translators' questions ensures accuracy and appropriateness. And effective communication between translators and PMs is essential in the quality assurance process, and trust, as in any activities requiring collaboration, is the key element. So if translators do not trust the PM, and that they will be there to support them every time they leave a comment, as we just did, they will not flag mistakes or ask for more context to provide you with the best translation possible. So as a result, you as a project manager may overlook issues that might be really difficult and expensive to fix at the later stages. So my tip here would be do invest, if you are a project manager, into your relationships and save yourself stress during translated content delivery and publishing stages. And then clear client expectations help translators deliver precise translations, and clear communication about timelines prevents last-minute rushes, and clear feedback, and not something like, oh, that looks like Google Translate, and I don't like it. That's not clear feedback, and that doesn't help to improve. But if feedback is constructed, then it really helps translators to learn your preferences as a project manager, and then make necessary adjustments. So in summary, here, effective communication ensures clarity, quality, and timely delivery, and fostering trust and collaboration in translation projects. Now, I will switch back to the presentation.
There's one question on where did you go to add the context again?
Where did I go? So coming back to that weird string, you will not see that option because your role is a translator and a proofreader, and you're not allowed to add context. But if you're playing a project manager's role in the project, then you will have a different UI of Crowdin, and there will be a button at the top right called Edit String, and there is a field called Context, and you can provide context here. And you also add screenshot as a context, as a source of context here. And I click Save, and you see it will appear here at the right. So you, as a translator, will see it if it's there. Because what happens quite often, is that the developers or project managers, they do not really have time to add context, and that really affects quality of translations. But my tip is to never hesitate to ask for more context. Flag it, and if you're not able to provide any meaningful translation, better flag it and ask questions, then provide whatever, because coming back from later stages in the content delivery, coming back again to one string can be extremely expensive, and that really affects the relationships between the translators and the project managers and the rest of the team, because going back and forth is really expensive for the companies. So if you see something that prevents you from doing a great job, then flag it at the early stage. Okay. Then again, I will go back to my presentation for a moment. As promised, I will equip you with the list of additional courses that you can use to expand your basic knowledge of Crowdin and localization related processes specifically. I put here some links to the courses that I personally like, and some of them I personally followed. So I think those are one of the best at the market. Some of them are free. Others may require additional investments for the certificate if you want to get certified. But have a look, and yeah, I think now we can move to the specific questions that you have on either localization or Crowdin, or anything else related to the industry. I will stop sharing. Right now I can see the chat, so I can reply quickly. Let's see. Can you talk a bit about how AI is impacting the availability of work for translators? Well, that's a good question. And that really depends. Depends on the field you're working in. If it's legal translations, if it's medical translations, then I would say it does not really affect those translators, because these are highly specific. There are highly specific terms, and AI cannot really provide reliable translations at the moment. So for the translators, it's faster if they do it manually than if they rely on if project managers rely on machine translation post-editing workflow, the one that you just saw with the machine translation engine. If you use AI as a machine translation engine at your workflow, then a lot of translators are saying that for them it's just faster to do human translation. So if they do it manually, then if they have to go through the strings and correct them after the machine, because still, even if it's AI, it requires a lot of manual editing anyways. Also, I would not panic about it because, well, you see AI is already in Crowdin, but for the companies to really move their processes to AI, that would mean that they need to retrain their translators, and that costs money, of course. So it's not like every company is willing to do that, but and some probably will not do that. Well, the second slide, I think, I mentioned some of the organizations and some of the translators. They will not move to AI at all. I don't see them moving there at any. Well, it's not any future. They will not move there at all because those fields where creativity is required, like translating poetry, the AI is pretty much useless at the moment. Let's see how it develops. But right now, if you have your niche, your specialty, let's say you're a medical translator, you have nothing to worry about. All right. Also, well, it's not translators, but it's about interpreters, so oral translators. When they interpret simultaneously, or well, it doesn't really matter the difference between the interpretations, but what we see in the industry is actually shortage of available interpreters. So it's the situation at the market is completely the opposite. There is not a shortage of the work available for translators, but it's shortage for highly qualified translators and interpreters. So I would not really worry about it at this stage of AI development. Could you talk about a bit about your role and what your day-to-day work looks like? Yeah, I work for a small B2B SaaS company. It's an IT company, and they build a software. And my task is to make sure that the product is available in 16 languages. This year, we added 6 more languages to the platform, and that's because, well, in simple, long story short, is because the product was sold by our sales team to the markets we were not presented before. So in our case, it was Hungarian this year, Romanian, and for other languages. And the product was not available at those languages. And that was a team effort to first to translate the product and to localize the product then. So it's available to the speakers of those new for us languages as well. And then usually, well, coming back to day-to-day work, if it's not adding new languages, because that's a whole different story, you have to, again, well, you just saw how I modified the workflow, and that's usually what happens when we enter new languages, new markets. You, as a project manager, will be required to find a freelancer to help you with the translation tasks. Well, if that's in case you collaborate with the freelance translators and you don't have any in-house colleagues that could help you with the translations. And then if it's a regular day, nothing special, then my day would look like, well, it's again, a lot of communication, a lot of cross-team collaboration, because you can imagine localization department as a belt around all the other departments in the company. Well, there are sales, of course, there's product, there's customer support, most probably, well, marketing, and they all produce something, and you are kind of in the middle of all this. So for product, you already have an idea how it works, right? So we enter a new market, we need a product, we need all the strings, all the buttons, everything that you see in a product. Well, think of an app, and all the buttons, everything should be in the new language. Then they just give me a green light and tell me, okay, it should be, let's say Hungarian is a new language, and I start working on it. Then sales also produce some content. They might need support with their quotes, with their sales contracts, and that should be in the local language most of the times. Then you help with that as well. Another thing is customer support, but that's also a very specific field, very specific area, because I know many companies right now, what they do, they kind of outsource their customer support to chatbots. Then your task would be, it can be helping with the LLMs, training them, so gathering content in all the languages, labeling. That really, the whole thing really depends on the company and how they work, what are their processes, right? And the marketing will also produce some content, and that also comes to you. There most probably will be a website that should be available in several different languages. That might be your task as well. So everything starting with landing pages, and then regular web pages, blogs. Everything should be available in the target languages. This is something you do, and then you also closely collaborate with the designers on how do you need, or whether you need or not, because that might not be the case if it's a European market. Well, that, let's take something very specific. Well, we're here in the Netherlands, and let's say one day we decide to enter Korean market. Well, we haven't done it yet, but if that happens, what I will do as a localization manager, I will most probably look for a freelance culture consultant who could help us, who could consult on how we could modify, how we could localize our product. So when we enter the new market, it fits and feels native. And of course, translations it's just a part of a bigger picture. Yeah, I hope that answers the question. So the day will really look how it goes. It will really depend on the requests that you get, which departments needs help, and then you collaborate with them. So there's a lot about communication, a lot about internal communications, and a lot of communication with your freelancers if you are collaborating with the freelancers, or if you're managing a vendor, which can be the case if the company is bigger. Then you need a team of a bigger team that you probably cannot manage yourself. Then you need to outsource this task to your vendor, and then it's again a lot of communication with the vendor, because vendors will also come up with questions. It's not like if you outsource it to the vendors, then you can forget about this task. Well, no, because anyways, vendors collaborate with the freelancers. with their translators, and those translators will flag some issues, and vendors not always can answer all their questions, especially if it's super product specific. Then it will come to you anyways. And then again, it's a lot of communication. If you can answer their questions, you will. If not, you will have to bother your colleagues from product team and ask them for clarification, because sometimes strings do not have any context provided by the developer, and only developer knows what it means. So you see, there's a lot about communication. That's why I really wanted to highlight it, because without it's a lot about communication and building relationships, because you're in the middle of the entire process and you collaborate with so many people that without proper communication, it's just not possible. Okay. Then
we have Brendan raising his hand.
Go ahead, Brendan.
Hello, thank you so very much for your time. This is really helpful. I've heard of Crowdin before, but I've never been able to kind of lift up the hood. So that was really helpful, and getting to see you maneuver through that. And so I just want to say thank you for that. I think, and I hope this question is helpful for all. This maybe might be a step back from the current conversation, but as most of us here are trained linguists, I think a lot of times in industry, there's this idea of like, oh, if you're bilingual, you're trilingual, you must be a translator or an interpreter. When in the US, right? Obviously, there's a lot of people who do language brokering as young children for their parents. But by and large, there's not a lot of translation interpretation programs in the US as compared to, say, in the Netherlands or in the rest of Europe, where that has much more history and much more tradition of those programs. So to take the step back for everyone, myself included, there in the room, they're all linguists, trained in linguistics, with very, very little resources, a lot of times in graduate education for translation interpretation, although it's always said, oh, that's really important. Do you have any suggestions for maybe readings or particular, throughout the different workshops in the last 2 weeks, it's been, okay, for those who are more quantitatively oriented, what are the skills that you most recommend brushing up on? Python, SQL, R, qualitative discourse analysis. And so I'm wondering, and I know in a very short amount of time, you can't say do A, B, and C, but would you happen to have any suggestions for myself and for the audience, for those of us who are really interested in translation, whether it's freelancing or looking into that, if we're multilingual, kind of certain steps to kind of begin that journey, to read up on it, to increase our knowledge on translation, kind of more the methods of it, as opposed to, yeah, I'm a linguist who's bilingual, trilingual, I'm going to give a stab at it. Does that question make sense?
Yeah, totally, yes. And thank you so much for it. I mean, even if you are just a bilingual, trilingual linguist, that might be already enough to step into the translation industry. But it's all about your customer. It's all about the client. It's all about the company you're going to be working for, and about their quality standards. So right now, I'm pretty sure all of you can satisfy certain clients. So even without having any knowledge, if you haven't been trained specifically on translations, you do not have a degree in translations, that might still be enough. But then if you are looking for something different, not just basic translation jobs, which can be, the rates there can be pretty low, and the competition is the opposite, is pretty high. But then have a look at the last slide that I provided in the presentation. There are quite some suggestions, and there is an MA in localization, specifically in localization project manager in I think it's Middlebury Institute of International Studies. Right now, they just launched the MA. So if you are thinking of a degree, then think of them. There is a professional certification in specifically again in internet internationalization and localization by University of Washington, and it's free if you want to go there. I mean, and the certificate itself is just well, I don't remember exactly, but I did follow this course, and I remember that the certificate was pretty affordable. It's if you are thinking about Python and all that, then you are looking into the localization engineering path. There, you might need some deeper knowledge of Excel and Google Sheets and how to organize the flow there using these tools only, which can be useful if you are thinking of games industry, because those guys are really still on Excel sheets. And well, then you need to implement some certain automations. And without some technical background, you can't really do that, right? But if it's pure project management, then I would say that course from the University of Washington should be enough. And if you just play around Crowdin, you can go ahead and actually get yourself a license. And in this project, you are limited with this translators and proofreaders role that I assigned to you, but you can go ahead and get yourself a license for 30 days, and you will be the admin, and you will see the entire UI, all the buttons, all the functions, everything. And they have quite some tutorials online, and it's not rocket science. I believe anyone can learn it in a couple of weeks, probably, and then just look for crowdsource projects and start building your portfolio. That should be enough to enter the industry. Does that answer your question? Or
it's brilliant. I really appreciate your response right there with all the different feedback. I think it's exciting for all of us to hear. Like, hey, you can, if you're bilingual and you are linguistic, chances are you can begin now.
You can.
But there's obviously a lot of skills. It sounds like that one can acquire along the way. And I really appreciate you sharing your slides with all those references. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, my pleasure. It might be that another thing that might be useful is project management certification. And again, on Coursera, for example, there is one provided by Google, and it's free. There are lots of them, but that's, again, if you are ever required to build the process from scratch for the company, let's say it's a small IT company, that's my personal experience. And when I entered, there were no processes. There were developers building their product, and there were new markets that the sales team want to enter, and nothing in between. And here, what you really need is your project management skills. And then here, if you ever happen to be in this position, then most probably the certification in project management will help you a lot. Okay, a couple of more questions from the chat. Let's see.
Yes, there's one on, do you believe AI will make human translation obsolete in the next few decades?
Similar question. Not all of them. Not all of them. Simple content, yes, will be AI generated, will be AI translated. I do use AI right now already. I do use Crowdin every day at work. And what I do, for example, how I use AI is, I can give you one example. We translated our products strings into Romanian, but then during the testing phase, we received the feedback that our end users would prefer using it was for discounts. Well, I cannot reproduce it right now in Romanian, but so it was a synonym for discounts. There are apparently several, that's a normal thing, several names for discounts in Romanian, and we received the feedback that we don't really like how it is translated right now at the platform. And what I would need to do as a project manager, I would need to come back to the project and create a whole new task and ask my freelancer to go through all the occurrences of this specific word, discounts, in the entire on the entire platform, and correct it using that word that was suggested by the clients. But that's a lot of hassle. So what I did instead, I went to AI and I asked, okay, how do I need all the forms. So it should be plural, it should be singular. There are cases. I need all of them. But then I don't need a translator. I can do it myself as a project manager. I do not speak Romanian. But as a linguist, as a trained linguist, I can see the difference between the singular form and the plural, of course. You will also see the difference between the noun and the verb if it's coming from the language you're kind of familiar with, or it's from the same language group. Let's say if it's I don't know, Dutch and German. Well, you have this feeling for languages, of course, so you will see some inconsistencies. You can spot them, and so multilingual project managers are gold. Those are the best, because with the help, a bit of AI, a bit of your knowledge in linguistics, and you can fix small things like this with the help of AI. So that's how I use it already, but that will not substitute translators. I don't think so. I mean, there's still a lot for translators to do. Okay, 1 more minute left, I believe. What do we do, Tamaya?
Yeah, there's one more question, and the last question is, what percentage of translation opportunities do you think are translation between 3 different languages instead of 2?
Not really. Usually it's just 2. And most of the language pairs will be English as a source, something else as a target. It's the majority, but trilingual, nah, I'm not sure. Although I do have a translator who is trilingual, and we do use her services for 2 target languages. So it does happen, but it's rare.